Hey gang, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of Intuitive Angling. Thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to watch the video. And the video today, it came from a subscriber suggestion. I got a message a couple days ago. They wanted to know how much line you should leave between your rod tip and your lure. And I've never done a video on this. It's a great suggestion. There's a lot of complexities to this. So I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice because not one size fits all on this particular question. And real quick, just wanted to give you guys a weekly reminder. I have been working my butt off the last 2 days making lake map breakdowns for fishthemoment.com. If you guys are interested in any lake map breakdowns, we got them all over the country, all 4 seasons. We got a bunch of summer lake map breakdowns now. We can do personal breakdowns. You can check them all out under the lake map breakdown section of fishthemoment.com. I'll include that link in the description, and you guys can check them out there. Much appreciated. Okay guys, let's talk about the rod tip length. Now, I think one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of guys getting into when they first start fishing as far as their casting technique is they don't understand how much line to leave out between the lure and the rod tip. And there's not one answer to this that fits every situation, because what you have here is that the amount of line that you want to leave out between the lure and the rod tip, it depends on a couple different things. It depends on the length of the rod you're using, it depends on the action of the rod that you're using, and it depends on how much distance that you need out of the cast. So in general, this is what happens. The closer that you have the lure to the rod tip, the shorter it's going to make your cast. You simply don't have the leverage behind that in order to make your maximum cast. And then the longer that you have the lure from the rod tip, that gives you more potential, if your rod can handle it, to make the longest cast. So obviously there's a lot of stuff to consider there. I mean, it depends on if you're using a 6-foot spinning rod or if you're using a 7.5-foot glass cranking rod. It depends if you're using, a light bait like a wacky rig, or heavier bait like a big flutter spoon or like a big deep diving crankbait. Here's my rule of thumb that I like to use to that. If I'm trying to make a maximum long cast, like say I'm fishing the big crankbaits, or say I'm throwing a big lipless crankbait, or say I'm throwing a 3/4 ounce football head jig, or a big topwater, big heavy topwater, something that I'm trying to maximize the distance of my cast out there, most of the time I'm using, first of all, I'm using a longer rod. I'm using a rod that's at least 7 foot long, but I leave a lot more line out. A lot of times under those situations, I'll leave up to 3 feet of line out, because that 3 foot of line allows me to really make that super long overhand cast, which is the ones I usually make when I'm trying to make a long cast. And it gives you the momentum of having 3 foot of line out in correlation with the bend on your rod, and you can really launch it out there like a catapult. So that's one situation there. Now, if I'm making say I'm making shorter casts, like I'm fishing a little square bill crankbait around objects, or I'm spinnerbait fishing around objects, something like that, or if I'm fishing a spinning rod and I'm casting a shaky head or something like that, generally I'll leave about 15 inches of line out. 15 inches, maybe 20 inches of line out. That gives you the combination of distance and control. You don't ever want to have less than 12 inches of line between your lure and your rod tip, because what that does, it takes away your casting accuracy, it feels awkward, and it takes away your casting distance. So just remember that when you're considering that. But what happens with this, guys, is once you get the feel for it, and once you get more experience in casting, you automatically know how much line to leave out. It's sort of like it's a feel that you sort of like, it just becomes second nature, that you just sort of get used to knowing how much line that you leave out. So the biggest thing that I would suggest on it, guys, is don't go too long, don't go too short. In general, if you stay between 1.5 foot and 3 feet, you're going to be pretty good on most of them. So that's what I would suggest on that. So anyway, just a quick tip or quick video today, guys. Hope that helps out, and we'll talk to y'all later. See you.